Hearing sirens playing from the start, from the start, from the start, from the start. Hey, hey, did you hear them sirens playing? Hear them sirens playing from the start, from the start, from the start. Hey, hey, hear them sirens playing from the start.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Simple Racing Broadcast for round 10 of the Tasman Racing League Road Series. That's right, it is the final round of this series, and what a season it has been. What a place to finish it up. My name is Jared Cole. I'm joined, as always, by Boone Blake in the commentary booth, and tonight we arrive at one of the most feared, the most loved, one of the most legendary racetracks on the planet. It is, of course, Mount Panorama. It is Bathurst, and if ever there's a place where championship battles can be won or lost, this is absolutely it. Bathurst is absolutely unforgiving as a track. It's 6 kilometres of total commitment, lots of concrete walls, and absolute consequences. It's a track that gives drivers nowhere to hide from their mistakes. And Boone, I love wrapping championships up at a place like this. The points are fairly close, in a couple of battles, but really the podium at this stage, probably thankfully for those top runners, is pretty close to decided.
Absolutely, Jared, and I think the one thing that you can't have in any racing championship is a lackluster final round. I'm going to go ahead and call out NASCAR here. Phoenix is not it. Bathurst, however, in the Tasman Racing League is it. I think if you polled all of our drivers about what their favorite track on the schedule is, most of them, I would venture a guess, would probably say it's this one. And for good reason. Obviously, it's one of the longest tracks on the circuit. It's over 6 kilometers long. The elevation change is massive throughout. It's got every different kind of corner imaginable, and it's an immensely rewarding track when you get it right. We're going to be doing 25 laps here tonight. One fast repair for these drivers. I would venture a guess, Jared, that a lot of them are going to be using it.
Oh, no doubt at all. Bathurst it's a gem of a track. I love the place. And there are so many different cars that suit it. So much more than I think sometimes the supercars that often run it. Let's come back and talk about the track in a moment, though, because I do want to take a quick look at the point standings just for your top 20 before we get underway tonight. Matt Webber absolutely has this sewn up. And with the number of drivers here tonight, we're looking at just under 30 drivers on track. So each position tonight will be worth about 3 points of difference. And so you've got to think that for most of these drivers, there will not be a great deal of opportunity to move further up. Nicholas Heath, he's got a good shot at overtaking Chris Murray. Martin Hallinan might even be able to jump ahead as well. So I'd have to think that if Chris Murray doesn't show up this evening, and I don't see him there, I don't believe he's going to be making it tonight. Unfortunately, he's likely to drop out of the top. But then there's quite a bit of separation back to the likes of Drew Collins and Shannon Corbett. A few close battles, though. David Noden, Stephen Scully, Daniel Velicott in particular, only 4 points separating those three. And so tonight could actually shuffle that order a little bit further. So although the battles won't be at the front end of the championship pack quite so much tonight, there's still plenty to play for in terms of bragging rights.
Absolutely, Jared. I think from 14th place Jeremy Newton, really all the way up through 8th place Brian Roy, they're only separated by absolutely an amount of points you can get in one race. They're only separated by, looks like, 42 points. So just intense competition there with 5 or 6 different cars that I think we're going to be keeping an eye on all race. Brian Roy, David Noden, Stephen Scully, Daniel Velicott, Lucas Blake, Bradley Austin, and Jeremy Newton. All those drivers, of course, worth keeping an extra special eye on throughout this race.
And look, to be fair, everything's going to be worth keeping an eye on here at Bathurst because it's just one of those tracks where so much happens so quickly. It can be tough to keep track of and make sure we don't miss anything. So we'll do our best to capture all the action tonight. But I suspect that there's going to be more than one occasion where perhaps we do miss an incident just because there's likely to be a few going on at once. Is my guess. The track conditions tonight are not ideal. You know, a little bit warmer than perhaps some of the drivers would like in terms of the track temp. It's up at 36 degrees, but it is coming down. It was 45 degrees not so long ago. So thankfully, everything cooling off with the clouds around and a slightly cooler air temp. It is going to make life just a little bit easier on those tyres, I reckon. We'll take a look at the grid now, and this is how they're going to stack up here this evening. Lewis Bahadra set the fastest time alongside Matt Webber. Matt Searle and Jeremy Newton on the second row ahead of Nicholas Heath and Shannon Corbett. Then Drew Collins and Martin Hallinan line up on row 4 with Daniel Velicott and Joe De La Rosa rounding out your top 10. Chris Fitzgerald and Darryl O'Sullivan just outside the top 10 with Stephen Scully and Jack Kelly-Reid right behind them. Dale Horn and Martin Walker alongside each other, then Brody Daff and Kieran Rice ahead of Ben Christian and Patrick Robinson. Jordan Nelson and Greg Goodfellow on row 11, then Oscar Dobbins and Zach Bleedstra with Rob Tilley and Manuel Dodra towards the back of the pack. And Lucas Blake, Tim Pattinson and Anthony Capan all failing to set qualifying times, which is not especially unusual at Bathurst, is it?
No, not at all. It's a track that can be really, really difficult to get around clean. And the margins here are so unforgiving. You can touch wheels off the track in a position that on a normal racetrack you wouldn't get a penalty for. But the track limit's absolutely unforgiving here. And the track's so narrow, especially through the sectors on top of the mountain, that I'm surprised that only 3 of our drivers failed to set a time here. I would have expected it to be more.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to pick up a nice little off track around this place. As we head on down, the BMW safety car sitting on the track. We are just about ready to go racing. Just a couple of final drivers to jump on in. And I
is
reckon...
that a Mustang? For Louis Buhager? That's new.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting change for him. I am surprised to see him out of the McLaren. But on the other hand, a Mustang, you know, it's the closest thing to a Gen 3 supercar that you can really get to play with in this category. Maybe it just feels a little bit more at home here in Bathurst. I don't know.
Maybe it does. They say the GT3 Mustang's a little bit of the meta. We know Matt Webber's had a lot of success with that car this season. Whatever the reason Buhajar switched to the Mustang, it seems to have worked for him. He went fastest in qualifying by over half a second. Spectacular pace out of the hybrid sim sport driver there.
Yeah, lots of pace everywhere tonight. Matt Webber's going to be interesting.
Yeah, what I'll be really interested to see is if that massive qualifying pace advantage for Buhager, half a second, and obviously half a second's not that much at a track that's this long, but it's definitely substantial. We've very rarely seen anyone out-qualify Matt Webber by half a second this season. What I'm going to be curious to see is if Webber can get around Buhager at the start and use his cold tire pace to get out ahead.
Yeah, that will be the big question, and Lewis Buhager will lead us away in just a moment as we start down towards the final corner. Murray's awaits the safety car about to peel off into pit lane. It'll dive across the cones there and get out of the way as we come around the very tight final corner. This is always an interesting way for us to get started. A rolling start at Bathurst is something else entirely. Lewis Bahaja and Matt Webber will lead us to the line as they come up and over the hill. And here we go, folks. We are underway, and this is the final race here. 25 laps of Bathurst lie ahead, and Bahaja immediately getting us underway as we come on into Hell Corner. And I tell you what, it is going to be a very, very busy little section of racetrack here as everyone does try to get into some kind of a racing order. And Matt Searle, interestingly, starting from the pits by the look of things, is not in the car at the moment. So I don't know if he's actually going to get on into this particular race or not. We'll have to see if he does make it out. It looks as though he is on his way out of the pit now, so thankfully hasn't missed the start entirely.
Thankfully, and I think Goodfellas had a little bit of trouble as well. He's dropped back to about 12, 13 seconds off the back of the pack. As we see, we've had massive trouble for Buhajar. He's dropping down the pack like a rock, and Hallinan dropping as well. We're going to have to see what's happened there, but we've got at least one car, two cars around. That's Buhajar. That's one of the Mustangs of TKR Racing. It's not Matt Webber. Webber appears to have gotten away clean in the lead. We're going to have to get a replay of that. And another wreck, it looks like Rob Tilley there, that time into the wall off the front of, I think, one of the Sendit McLarens. It's chaos here on the first lap. I don't know what's going on.
This is Bathurst. This is what we've come to expect. Oscar Dobbins picks up a flag as
Nicholas
well.
Heath. Nicholas Heath
mate.
plunging through the pack as well. That's going to be brutal for his chances at getting second in the championship. Especially with Chris Murray not out there. Heath needs to finish, I think, with more than 8 cars behind him to clinch the championship. Or not to clinch the championship, but to clinch P2.
This is what Bathurst does so well, doesn't it? It throws up some really interesting starts to a race, and you've already seen the race order almost entirely reversed with some of those early incidents. Absolutely unbelievable. Look at the gap back to that second group now as we see Webber out in front. Corbett's right behind him out of nowhere, up 4 positions. Daniel Velicott's up 6. Jeremy Newton in the Valhalla Lamborghini, looking amazing, might I add. That new paintwork, phenomenal choice. Excellent work for a final round. But he's the only one that's actually managed to hold his position in the entire field, essentially. Everyone else has either dropped massively or picked up a whole bunch of spots from that early chaos. And honestly, not surprised. It's what Bathurst does to us every time.
It'll take a couple of replays to sort through what happened there. I think we've had a number of contenders fall by the wayside. Buhajar is out of the car in 27th position in the pit lane. Heath is in 24th.
I don't even
completely shaken up the front of this race, other than Matt Webber.
I think we've got to start with Bahaja, and we'll a little bit of bumping up the hill there as we get to the end of Mountain Straight and start the climb towards the cutting. A little bit of damage there on the front end. It looks like of Scully's Mustang, and I think he might have just tapped the rear of De La Rosa's Mercedes, perhaps. But everyone just starting to settle into the rhythm, and already some massive gaps starting to open up in the field, and that's not at all surprising given what's occurred over the start of this 25-lap race. I don't want to blink because I'm worried we're going to miss something else here, but let's go back and take a look. Lewis Bahaja, the first of the cars to have an issue, and he's just gone around on his own into the cutting, but then just off the brakes a little too soon, rolls back in front of Nicholas Heath, and he is a roadblock there. You can see that Hallinan had nowhere to go. He tries to get moving. Again, nice little flick spin. Looks like he did just tap. It looks like it might have been. Oh, and then another bit of contact from the Corvette as well. It's just been an absolute mess there to get us underway.
The leader goes around at the cutting, roadblocks the entire track. That is just nightmare fuel for every single driver in the pack. I am very glad I didn't have to come up on that. You could just see how it just kept going and going and going. You don't get that at anywhere but these really narrow courses.
The completely blind corner too. Like of all the places for that to happen, the cutting is about as blind a corner as you'll find anywhere on any racetrack. It's uphill, there's massive walls, and unfortunately for Bahaja, he slid it just far enough around the corner that there was just no warning for anybody.
That's right, as we see a nice move from Zach Vlietstra up the inside on Kieran Rice, and Kieran Rice is going to come under a little bit of pressure from Ben Christian now. This is the battle for 12th place.
So we're starting to see these guys just settle in a little bit. Have a look at the gap, though. You know, Vlietstra has almost 9 seconds to catch up to Brody Daff here, which is just a phenomenal amount of time left in it. Patrick Robinson, after that bit of contact early on, we saw him come through and just give the Hydro a little bit of a nudge. He's side by side with Lucas Blake now as they come up Mountain Straight towards Griffin's Bend. He drops in behind, has another think about it. That was a very, very late decision. That's going to cost him a lot of time and pace. He was lucky not to put it into the side of Blake there. And lap 3, tell you what, these guys are going all out, not afraid to throw these cars into some pretty questionable sort of situations by the look of things.
But if I'm Patrick Robinson, I think that was just a day late and $1 short. Good move by him to back out of it there, but it was going to be a mighty, mighty move if he could have gotten that overtake done, and now he's cost himself a little bit of pace. He's going to need to get back on the gas to get back to Lucas Blake about 0.6 seconds up the road, but he looks to be doing it. It seems like Blake's had a small moment there. Robinson's taken 3/10 out of him while I've been talking.
I'll keep talking. I'm pretty sure there's going to be no complaints from him in terms of how much time you're giving him there. Another of the incidents on that first lap, we go back to Matt Searle now, who was all on his own and comes around the corner and is faced with a hybrid SimSport car blocking the cutting. I mean, how unlucky do you have to be? He started from pits and was busy trying to catch up, and you come around the turn to see something like that. I always wonder about the yellow flags and how much attention people actually do pay to them out on track, and I think we're seeing the answer to that, Sniper.
It's been, you're supposed to pay attention to the yellow flags, certainly, but I think these drivers are still so competitive and they don't want to give up. Not only do they not want to give up their position, but they don't even want to give up a run that could lead to them giving up their position, because things compound so fast at this track that if you even give up a small run, or if you give up track position, you could be completely cooking yourself several corners in the future, especially on the top of the mountain section. So I think we do see these drivers kind of fly through the yellow flags with reckless abandon, not out of recklessness, but just out of necessity to avoid losing their place.
And then it ends up costing you so much more time at a place like Bathurst. It's a long way and a very difficult drive to try and get the car back, and it's also not a particularly short tow time either. It's the lesser of two evils sometimes you've got to choose from. Tim Pattinson, living up to the team name, absolutely sends it up the inside of Zach Vlietstra. Who needs a front bar? That's just weight reduction. And he picks up another spot up into 12th as he tries to chase down Kieran Rice. And Vlietstra and Rice have been swapping positions a little bit. I think Vlietstra maybe just struggling a little to keep the pace once he does get past. And we're seeing him immediately, though, start to pick it back up and try and go with Pattinson. Rob Tilley, another of the victims on that opening lap. And you can see he was already carrying a bit of damage, but hits that famous curb on the right-hand side just before Skyline. That curb has taken out more cars than I can count. But have a look at the amount of damage he was already carrying on that rear left from the earlier incidents, and you can understand why.
I'm amazed he's even driving straight.
Well,
in a front-engine, rear-wheel drive car.
Straight is a matter of perspective, really, isn't it? That's a massive crab walk he's got going on, but technically, I suppose, travelling in a straight line, as we see Pattinson now past Kieran Rice. Beautiful move on the inside of
I'm not sure that one's
elbow.
going to stick, though.
Well, no, maybe not.
I'm not sure it's going to stick. Rice is all over his rear bumper as they come down here. He's going to have the draft to make any move he wants, as we see Velicott fighting with Newton. Jeremy Newton trying to hold on here.
Oh, there's contact. Velicott's around. And is he going to slide it across the track in front of Newton?
What a save. What a save by Velicott.
Huge amount of pressure on, and unfortunately it came together. Velicott's done a great job to keep it from going into the wall any harder there. But I reckon there'll be a little bit of red mist as he starts to try and chase down Jeremy Newton, who is going with Fitzgerald right on his tail, as they're already starting to pass lapped traffic, and that gives you an idea of just how far back some of these drivers are after repairs.
Absolutely, and I think Velicott's going to be boiling a little bit after that one with all that time lost with that spin, but I think that was a racing incident, at least from what we could see on the broadcast. It looked like they both just got into each other's door a little bit. Velicott definitely caught the worst of it, but he did great to slide that car across the track without hitting anyone and with only a tiny contact with the wall. That was a great save by him, and he's still in the top 5.
Zach Vlietstra has just gone in to have some repairs done, had a meatball there, so he really is struggling a little bit here tonight. Newton, on the other hand, has got himself some clear and absolutely putting the foot down to try and catch up out in front. The gap out to Matt Webber, 5.5 seconds between Newton and Webber, so the front three fairly well separated. Fitzgerald will want to go with Newton here. Won't want to drop too far off the back because he knows he can pick up a fair few kilometres an hour down Conrod Straight here if he can just stay on the tail of that Lamborghini, and that is going to be the tricky part because Newton has a massive run on. Looks like Fitzgerald's just barely hanging on to the draft here. He'll close in a little bit further as they get down towards the chase, but there won't be a lot that he can do to try and stick with him at this stage. Cars all over the place with meatballs in the pits, out of the cars entirely. It's not been the start that we had expected, and yet maybe it has been. I think we probably expected a little bit of chaos, but I'm not quite sure I was expecting it by the cutting.
I certainly didn't expect it in the way that we got it, with our leader, Louis Bouhajar, getting a great start and then going around, essentially roadblocking the entire track. That's not exactly how I expected it to go. I thought we'd get a little bit of incidental contact further down the field, but I would be lying if I said I didn't expect complete chaos on lap 1, and that is indeed what we got, as we've now got Vellacott into the pit lane. Perhaps that contact with the wall when he spun out was a little bit more severe than we thought. He's coming in for repairs from 5th position.
We'll go back and we'll take a look at this one. So a bit of contact there. I think both just fighting over the same little bit of track. And he's done a pretty good job. That nudge, though, these cars are fairly fragile, and hitting a wall with the front right corner like that with your wheel already turned a little, you can actually see. Have a look at that front right. It's actually not tracking straight.
That'll be wheel damage.
Yeah, there's definitely damage there that he had to get repaired, because that will have been affecting his speed down Conrod massively.
And that's a shame. I thought he got out of that unscathed.
So close. He did such a great job pulling it up, but just not enough kitty litter there.
As we see now, looks like Drew Collins all over the back of Anthony Capan for 15th position here. He might try to make a move down here into turn 2 up the inside. It's been a popular overtaking spot all day, but he's going to back out of it, maybe look into the cutting.
And this is the thing about Bathurst, isn't it? It's one of those tracks where there's only really 1 or 2 spots where you'll get a move done right there and then. A lot of it is actually setting up. Oh, that's a brilliant move by Collins up the inside.
Wow.
On the exit of the cutting. What a pass. Just a little bit wide from Anthony Capan, and Drew Collins had to be completely on the ball to take advantage of that. He's done a brilliant job to make that move. I was about to say, it's the sort of thing where you need to set up at the cutting to make a pass out of Forest Elbow, and I've been proven absolutely wrong by Drew Collins with that one. A brilliant move. That takes him up into 15th, and now on the back of Manuel Dodra in the Trident Racing Mercedes, who himself is up 12 positions. Drew Collins trying to fight his way back. Dodra runs wide. That's going to be enough for Collins to have a think about it. He's not quite going to make the move this time around, but looking to go around the outside and go a little bit of over under here if he can. Big slide into the wall. There's going to be a little bit of damage to the rear right of that Ferrari as a result. Can Anthony Capan just capitalise on that and start to reel him back in?
Around the outside of the elbow there, Drew Collins was feeling racy, but I don't think around the outside of the elbow is ever really going to be a good idea.
Pretty ambitious.
There's already so little margin for error. Yeah, it's easy when you're not the man in the arena, if you're not the man in the cockpit, to say what a driver should have done, but I really think he should have just waited and held close through the elbow and gotten the draft there. He's gotten away with it this time. It doesn't look like he's picked up any significant damage, and he's going to have another think about it on Dodra here down into the final corner. Collins is going to get away with it this time, but I wouldn't try that again, Jared.
I think Collins is clearly on a mission here. He is pushing so hard. You see him poking the nose out at every turn. He feels like he's got a lot more pace in that Ferrari than Dodra does up ahead of him. And yeah, look, it's either going to pay off or it's going to end really, really badly for him. And at this point, I can't quite decide which it's going to be, because we've seen some slightly questionable passing choices already attempted by Collins. Plenty of time for him to do this. We're only on lap 7, so he doesn't have to push on.
I want to see if he tries this move at the cutting again. Sorry for interrupting you, Jared.
No,
hold on. I just want to see if he does it again.
He's absolutely going to run it again. Guarantee it.
Oh, not quite close enough this time, I don't think.
No, not quite. Not quite. I think Dodra just held his line a little bit better than Capan did on the previous lap. So this is where Collins really needs to stick with him the whole way across Skyline to have that draft down Conrod Straight. That's where he's going to get the move done now. it really would take a massive error from the Mercedes for Collins to actually have a shot at passing anywhere along the top here, or something really brave, possibly even just bordering on foolhardy to make this happen. And I don't know whether we're going to see that from Collins or not. I'm not convinced he won't try something like that on.
I think he likes to look into the elbow. He's very, very close right now. I think he's going to attempt something, maybe. We'll see. Not yet.
Much better exit, and he's right on the tail. Probably needs to be a little bit closer than that to have a run into the chase, but he's certainly going to try and get there. Not managing to bring it down, so Dodra's actually had a brilliant bit of drive out of that corner. He's maintaining 2.5 tenths. Now Collins starts to reel him in just a little. It's going to be about who's bravest under brakes here, and I reckon Collins is probably going to shoot up the inside here if he gets even half a sniff. But Dodra does a brilliant job of just holding it at bay, and he's going to have to go another lap to have another crack at it.
It looks like it, unless he can get something done into the final corner down here. He's going to attempt it. He's going to get alongside Drew Collins all the way, and he gets it done on Dodra for 13th position. He's got a mile of clear track in front of him now. Let's see if Collins can get his foot down and try to catch up there to Velicott. Looks like about 7 seconds up the road now. He lost over a second in the last few laps battling Dodra, but he's through.
Yeah, that'll be something that he's been asking for a while, and I think probably a good choice from Dodra there. He was probably feeling exactly what I would have been in his situation, that Collins was coming through no matter what Dodra did, so it's probably best to get out of his way and potentially let him just wipe himself out. As it stands though, cleanly made pass, and Collins continues on. Martin Hallinan, after a dreadful start with that early contact straight into Bahaja, is doing everything he can to fight back through the field. Now he's back up to 17th and on the back of Zach Bleacher, who's had a bit of a horror run so far tonight. No massive incidents, but just a few little ones have been enough to really send him down to the back end of the field. That said, he's still up 8 positions over all of the people that have been involved in some of those early incidents. Greg Goodfellow having a shocker of a night as well. He's down into 25th at the moment, and it's a very topsy-turvy field, save for Matt Webber out in front, who for a moment looked like he was going to be challenged by Corbett, down to about a second and a half gap, but that's already gone back
Hallinan
up by another second. Martin Hallinan taking no prisoners, just charges through.
Well, Hallinan, as we talked about in the pre-race, he does have some championship implications for this race. He's in that big midfield battle between P8 and P14, so certainly not the race he was hoping to have, but he's got about 16 more laps here to try to turn it around. One driver who is having a very good race, Manuel Dodra here in 14th. He just finished up that battle with Drew Collins a couple laps ago, coming out on the losing end, but a very spirited defense from him. He's having to put on another one now. Anthony Capan in the 511 Porsche all over his rear bumper. We'll see if he tries to move in the same place Collins did. Not this lap.
Yeah, Capan doesn't have quite the pace under brakes that Collins did last time around. That said, he's absolutely thinking about into hell corner, and almost decided to just send it anyway. It's not the sort of corner where you can get away with that. If you can stick with Dodra up Mountain Straight here, he'll have a great run into Griffins to have a better crack at that. It's a much friendlier corner to try and pull that sort of a move, and it does look like he's going to be just a little bit too far back to really have a run at it. Just lost a bit too much time going into hell corner, I think, and it means he's going to have to wait it out again. I don't think he's got the pace or the position to really try something up and over the mountain. It's all about pressuring that driver ahead of you, though, to make the mistake, and we've seen plenty of them tonight.
A little bit of a mistake there on entry from Dodra as he goes a bit wide. That's going to bring Capan closer as they head up the mountain. I still don't think he's going to have anything to get the move done here, but he could set it up really well coming out of the elbow and potentially make the move before they cross the next lap.
That said, Dodra's got a good bit of pace across the top, and that's what's making it so difficult to get past him. Is you really can't afford to let that gap open up as you go across Skyline, because you need to be right on the tail all the way down through the cutting, through the S's, and all the way down to Forest Elbow, because if you're anything more than about 3/10 off the back on the way out of the elbow, you're not going to be close enough. And there's contact there. Dodra was on the brakes very early. Capan didn't anticipate that. So a little bit of a nudge. Thankfully, they've both gotten away with it. It's not going to cause them any issues with Pattinson behind, but it does mean that Capan will back off and just give a little bit more space as a bit of a sorry, I imagine.
Yeah, a good show of sportsmanship there from Capan. He's going to back out. He could have easily taken the position there, choosing to let Dodra retake the position and resume the battle here shortly, I imagine.
Now, Stephen Scully seems to have pulled out a bit of a special livery for this one tonight, and I don't half mind it.
Oh, that looks beautiful. That's a color that we don't see often, that sort of light gold. I think it gets a bad reputation because it's sort of a beige, but it's a metallic beige, and I don't think metallic beige is beige at all.
You know what?
That's a great looking car. We've got Dodra into the pits. We've got Dodra into the pits. We have real developments.
I will argue all day that that's champagne gold, my friend.
What is champagne gold but metallic beige?
Well, look, champagne gold for most car manufacturers is probably about an extra $5,000 over metallic beige, is my best guess. So Manuel Dodra comes in. This will be where we start to see some of these planned pit stops beginning, right? 10 laps in, we're getting towards the halfway point as Scully loses a fair bit of time across the top, but Dale Horn, you know, really hanging in there. Scully had a whole lot of extra pace before, but Horn's got it set up nicely across the top. On the exit, though, Scully gets a much better drive. I don't think it's going to be enough for him to reel it in. And certainly that little bit of damage on the front right, that's going to be causing a bit of top speed loss at the very high speeds that you see down Conrod Straight here. So he's really going to have to rely on the aero to make much of anything of it if he does want to try and catch Horn and pass for fifth. I don't see it happening in the next couple of laps, but if Scully does use that fast repair when he comes into his pit, it just might be something in this.
If I'm Scully, I would want to use that fast repair when I come in for my pit, and I would want to try to undercut Horn, because Horn has been phenomenal in this race. He's been cruising in the top 5 for pretty much the entire race. I think it's been the best performance we've seen out of him all season. Scully is doing well in his points battle. We talked about him as a driver with a lot of championship implications in this race, but he could be doing better. And if he can undercut Dale Horn and come out with a car with clean repairs, I think he's going to have more pace. I think what he needs to do here is stop within the next 1 to 2 laps, use that fast repair, and try to jump around Horn in the pits.
Yeah, there's plenty of strategy still to be considered. And it's the worst part about Bathurst, by far, is trying to find moments where you've got a chance to actually think about that strategy as a driver. You know, if you don't have a spotter or an engineer or even just a mate on the radio helping you out, it's really tough to have headspace to start to look at some of this strategy and think about it too much once you actually do get racing. Here you're on the absolute rugged edge of control for so much of this lap. And really, Conrod Straight even is enough of a challenge that you just kind of focused on holding the draft as best you can. I think Scully, I think you're right, he does need to think about taking advantage of an undercut here if he can. If he leaves it too much longer though, I reckon we're probably going to see Horn considering coming in for his pit stop pretty soon as well.
And just to direct your attention to the front of the field for just a moment, we've just had Shannon Corbett have a bit of a moment. He's lost about a second of time, and he's going to come into the pits now. But he was briefly within 1.1 to 1.2 seconds of Matt Weber. He was gaining a lot of time, and I'm not sure if it's because Weber had a small moment or if he's just gone off a little bit on the tires and Corbett was starting to take advantage. But it could be something to watch. Matt Weber looked like he had dominant pace early, but Corbett was reeling him in there before that pit stop.
Go back and we'll see if we can see what's happened here. Is it just getting caught up with the black cars or a little bit further back from that? Looks like it must have been a little further back. He's had his moment. We'll see what we can pick up if we do go back just a little further from there. I wonder if it's just been under brakes into the chase and it's just coming a little hot. Although with a couple of lap cars ahead,
it was even close to Weber there.
Yeah, it's where it sometimes gets a bit tricky, right? And just getting caught up. I think, yeah, just getting caught up behind the lap cars has really pulled a lot of pace out of it. And
I think so.
And that's probably the best choice at that point. May as well go for that undercut. Martin Hallinan, meanwhile, has had a big moment in amongst all of that, as has Stephen Scully and Matt Searle, all having well, look, not the best run to start the drive down Conrod. where do we even start? Darryl O'Sullivan's just had an issue as well. We'll go back and have a quick look and see what's happened to Stephen Scully. And these guys all come together at once. Scully's Murray's corner, notorious for that outside curb, clip that. And the problem with Scully now, a long way to go back around this track without a rear wing on it.
He's reversing.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, backs it out in front of, I think that was Oscar Dobbins, wasn't it? Who unfortunately...
I think so. That's... Well, there's not a lot you can do when you come around the final corner and there's a car reversing towards you.
Matt Searle has just
pinballed
through cutting.
Take a look at what he did.
Oh,
as he pulls forward now.
Right in front of Martin Hallinan. It's... I tell you what, Hallinan has had a shocker of a night for cars just appearing in front of him.
He has, and that's what I was sort of talking about earlier with how quickly incidents can compound here. Searle there got into the wall, rides around the wall like he's Ross Chastain at Martinsville, and then just into the path of Hallinan before he can do anything about it. It just shows you how quickly, with all the blind turns on top of the mountain, incidents can happen before you even realize they're starting to happen. There's no time to react here.
As Daff comes in, Sean Corbett will continue on. And is back up into fifth already after his stop. So this field very, very separated for Corbett to be able to hold that sort of a pace and that sort of position. Jeremy Newton into the pits and will be coming back out again momentarily, but he'll be a little further behind Corbett as Corbett starts his run up Mountain Straight. Let's take a look at the onboard from Martin Hallinan though. This will give you an idea of how little time he's had to react. Can't see a thing, can't see a thing. Oh no. Honestly. Yellow flags, people. Pay attention to them. It's.
I don't think yellow flags could have helped him there, though. I mean, Searle's trying to turn around. From Searle's perspective, he can't see anyone coming. I think the only thing that you could do differently there is check your relative more religiously.
But even then, I mean, at the point that Hallinan would have had even an inkling of that, because the yellow flag's probably not shown up for him until. Probably the very top of the S's, I would guess. Probably not much earlier than that. You're already downhill. You're already on the limit of your braking and your grip levels because you're trying to pull this car up down through the S's and trying to bleed off all of the speed, as we see Sean Corbett doing exactly that, down into the cutting. There is not a lot much more that you've got up your sleeve to slam on the brakes, and to have it happen just around a blind corner like that one on the exit of cutting, worst case scenario for Matt Searle and for Hart at that point.
Absolutely. I feel like Searle probably felt like he was on the racing line and he tried to pull off the racing line, but when your car is a long ways across the track like that, on such a narrow course, you're already blocking half the track, so he's essentially, you're counting on two people who can't see each other to both choose right.
What can possibly go wrong?
And they did not.
Yeah, look, that could have been, you know, had it been, I don't know, a half second earlier that Hallinan had arrived, you would have called that the nearest miss that we've seen all night, because it would have been, you know, an inch in it, and Hallinan would have just cruised on through. As it was though, not quite how it played out. Matt Webber still out in front very, very comfortably. Joe Della Rosa enjoying his run in second at the moment. He has absolutely been one of the biggest beneficiaries tonight of all of the chaos. He's still got to get his pit stop done, but he does have 17 odd seconds back to Shannon Corbett, and 23 back to Jeremy Newton. I don't know that Della Rosa is going to hang on to this position on the other side of his pit stop, given that we're expecting, you know, usually about 50-55 seconds to get from one end to the other of the pits. I think he's going to drop a fair way down. Someone who probably won't have that issue is Matt Webber. That said, Webber has not had as much pace as you might expect. If you look at what we're expecting from him in terms of pit stop, I actually think he might well be under some threat from Shannon Corbett, Jeremy Newton, and maybe even Chris Fitzgerald.
I'm really not so sure about this strategy for Webber. He's gone a little bit long, and I just don't know if it's going to work for him. He hasn't had overwhelmingly dominant pace in this race. He's far out ahead right now, but I think we might see him come in this lap.
And look, his best lap is absolutely quick. Right? A 2:04.92 stands alone as one of only, well, what, two drivers to get into the fours tonight. Shannon Corbett, the other one at 2:04.98. So Webber comes in now. This will be the one to watch. Shannon Corbett just coming out of Forest Hill now. It seems like a long way away, but you think about the pace you've got down Conrod Straight. He's going to eat up this distance to Matt Webber. I don't know.
I still think it's going to be Webber. That's my prediction.
I think you're probably on the money.
It's going to be close.
But it is going to be a lot closer than Webber would probably like it to be. Webber is about halfway through his pit stop now.
And he'll be out of the pits on cold tires. It's going to take him a couple laps to get up to full pace, but once he does,
Surely he's not
Corbett
taking
could
tires.
still be faster.
Surely he's not taking tires.
Unless he's forgotten to check them off, which is always possible.
But for 25 laps, these
Della
guys
Rosa into the
shouldn't
pits as
need
well
to.
now.
Right, Webber is on his way out now, 18.9 in the bay. Corbett's going to come around this corner, and Webber is going to be right there on the exit. Nothing at all in it. 1.6 seconds the difference.
It's going to continue to go down as well, as Webber's not up to full speed, and he won't be probably for the rest of this lap at least. We know he's good on cold tires, but nobody's good enough to get that much heat into the tires by the time they go over the mountaintop. Webber is going to be slow over the top of the mountain. He's running wide there. He's pushing as hard as he can. You can see it, and Shannon Corbett is on the hunt, but I don't know if he's going to get there, Jared.
I don't think he will. I will be very surprised. We'll have to ask Matt about it later on. We do have a chat to him because we'll be talking to him either way as the championship winner here for the season. But I would be absolutely shocked if he says he took tyres there. The 25 laps should be an absolute breeze on a set of tyres for GT3 cars. So I think that's what's going to save him here. If he had come out on cold tyres, Corbett would have absolutely eaten him up.
I think so. I think that even just the pulling into the pit lane shouldn't cool his tires down enough necessarily to put him at any sort of a disadvantage here. He should still have enough heat worked into the tires from before when he pulled in. As long as he's on the set he came in on, that he should be okay. We've sort of seen that over the top of the mountain. Corbett got it to within about 1.5 seconds by the time they came into the cutting, but he's only at 1.3 seconds when they come through the elbow. He did make up a little bit of time, which you would expect, but not very much.
Yeah, now what Corbett will be praying for here is a little bit of interference from those cars that are a lap down just ahead.
It looks like it's Jordan T. Nelson and potentially Zach Vlietstra.
Yes, indeed. Jordan Nelson always stands out with that livery, doesn't he? You can always tell who he is on the track.
It's very, very distinctive. And Vlietstra, I do sometimes confuse him with his teammate, Anthony Capan.
Yeah, that's a little bit harder to pick, the difference between those two, but...
It's not as hard as these GKR-Mustangs, though.
No, there is that. There is that. As we see, some apologies to Martin Hallinan there. I think that might be... I'm actually just not actually sure who that is checking in. Emperor X. I want to say that could be Matt Searle, but
yeah, Matt Searle says in chat that he had a hardware failure, and he's apologized to Martin Hallinan.
That's really interesting because Tuesday night we saw a hardware failure here as well. Gen 3 supercars just coming up out of the cutting. We had one of the drivers on Tuesday night in Alliance Sim Racing's final round, only a few laps in actually, coming up from the cutting, go smacking hard into that left wall on the climb up as the wheel just disconnected. Oh, look at Corbett up and over.
Shannon Corbett.
That was very close.
Corbett was
He's done
flying,
a really job to hold
and he did get a little interference there from Zach Vlietstra. Corbett got what he needed from the Corvette. He was within 0.7 seconds of Matt Webber when he had that little moment with the curb. He's now back to 1.7, and now he's having to deal with Zach Vlietstra. He's going to get a better run, but opportunity missed for Shannon Corbett there, I think.
I wonder if it would have been a better idea for Corbett to stay behind Vlietstra and do a little bit of bump drafting and just pick up a few extra kilometres an hour here. I think that's a little ambitious in a GT3.
Jared, are you suggesting, Jared, that they bump draft in a GT3 over the top of the mountain at Mount Panorama?
I'm suggesting down Conrod Straight. Come on, I'm not entirely insane. Just mostly. Look, nothing like a bit of fun on the final round, especially when I'm not the one in the driver's seat and thinking about my championship standings. Della Rosa now has Drew Collins closing in, who continues to climb back up through the tower. He's back up into 6th now. Has made a huge dent in that initial fall that he had. And as we get to, solidly into the second half of this final race of the season, Drew Collins doing a brilliant job to climb back through. Tim Pattinson in 8th is up 20 spots since the start. Lucas Blake up 17 into 10th. Those early casualties really taking a toll. You can see the number of drivers out tonight is significant, to say the least. Velocott, O'Sullivan, Scully, Dobbins, Searle, DeHarjo, Walker are all there.
I don't think that either Pattinson or Blake in the top 10 has come in for their stops yet. I think they're the only 2 drivers left who have not yet stopped. I will be interested to see if they do. I could be wrong. I definitely could have missed it with everything that's been going on, but I believe that those 2 are in those positions without a pit stop, and I'll be very interested to see where they come out.
Matt Searle, I believe, just asking to have a look at the incident which Cullen got clipped on the way through. Let me just go and have a look and see if I can track that down again for you, Matt. We'll no doubt be able to get a pretty good look at what it was like inside your cockpit at that time as we leave De La Rosa and Collins to battle it out across the top of the mountain. This is the onboard from Matt Searle's car as he comes down, riding the wall, smacks the other side of the cutting, and ends up facing backwards and just rolls it around. Then there comes Hallinan. So might have been even a little earlier than that the problems started by the sound of things. Just really, really unfortunate all round.
Yeah, it's a strange one. That's not one that you see very often. It didn't look like a straight steering wheel disconnection. It looked more like something may have gotten stuck. Perhaps a throttle pedal that just rolled that car forward and kept that steering wheel locked at that angle. It certainly didn't look like a particularly human input.
No, Matt's just saying that his screen was black for a good 20 seconds, so maybe the hardware failure was the screen rather than the wheel or anything that we'd usually expect to see. Collins goes through and picks up another spot, now up into 5th. Matt Webber still comfortably out in front, 2 seconds ahead. Shannon Corbett, a big gap back to Jeremy Newton, who's also having a great run here tonight. Chris Fitzgerald in 4th, and Collins here in 5th as he comes across the line to start his next lap. It's the story of the season, isn't it? Matt Webber has just had too much pace right throughout, and he survived the early chaos here at Bathurst somehow. I can only assume that he's made some sort of deal with a genie or some kind of shady figure somewhere in the underworld to have the sort of luck that he's had here at Bathurst tonight and continue the run that he's had, because there's no way he should have survived all of that.
I mean, I think he was in the best position to survive out of anyone. To be honest, he was in 2nd place, right behind Buhajar on lap 1 at the cutting. He had the easiest time of choosing which way to dodge, left or right, and he didn't have any other cars wrecking in front of him. I think 2nd place was where you want to be when the leader wrecks, really. Other than being the pace car, I think it's the best place to be when the leader wrecks on lap 1.
You know what, you're probably right. Let's take a quick look. This is what it looked like from Matt Webber's point of view. And you know what, I suspect you're right. He's seen him start to go sideways, and then to be fair, he's gotten very lucky picking which side to go there.
He's walled it too, and that was a decisive move from Matt Webber. Certainly the right move, we can say in hindsight.
Hindsight's a great thing, but it really is.
What a race he's had, simply because we thought he'd have competition from Buhajar and from Heath, both starting very near to the front of the field, both looking very good. Buhajar went over half a second faster than Webber in qualifying, but really all of Matt's competitors have fallen by the wayside on lap 1 in this one. Shannon Corbett has gotten close a couple times, but he's failed to strike at the time, at the right moment when it matters most. He's gotten within a second one time, but for the most part, other than that, Webber has been untouched all day.
Yeah, it's like I said, there's some sort of shady deals going on somewhere. I'm almost convinced of it. Webber has just, in a race where it looked like he should have had the most competition, he's found himself completely alone once again. It's hard to fathom, honestly, as we see a big moment from Kelly Reid, goes very, very wide on the entry of the cutting. I think just not backing his pace against Anthony Capan, gets out of the way and drops the position.
I believe that was not Kelly Reid. I believe that was someone else. I'm not sure who exactly, but I believe that would be the red, white, and green Castrol Mustang. That would be Jack Kelly Reid.
Goodfellow, sorry, getting out of the way there. This is
And
what happens
Goodfellow's
when
not on
they...
the same lap. I believe that was an intentional moment on his part.
yes, it would be. This is what happens when they all change their liveries up for the final round here.
I kept my livery the same. I'm not a part of this.
I'm not dragging you down with it. No way. No way. Matt just confirming in the chat, screen went black as he crossed Skyline and lost all the feedback on the
We've
wheel.
had a moment for Matt Weber. He's fallen to second place. He's fallen to third place. He had a yellow flag briefly.
Big slide through the S's, contact with another car and into the wall. I think he's gotten caught up trying to go past a lapped car, perhaps, on the way into the S's. We'll have to go back and
and he's Austin Powers did too. Nightmare for Matt Weber. Just when we were talking about him having it all sealed up, I think it's all gone away for the number 33 Ford Mustang. I'm not feeling terribly sympathetic for him with the results he's had this season. Shannon Corbett in the lead.
I actually think Weber's done that perhaps all on his own.
I think he has, and he's caught Dodra as well.
You know what? I reckon that is probably the curve of death on the right-hand side.
And then, after the incident, Dodra and Weber make more contact backing out and it knocks the rear wing off that Mercedes. That could actually do more damage to Dodra than the contact itself.
I'm going to try and get us back a little further. We can see what happened to Weber. My prediction is that what's happened is he's probably bent it just a little bit too hard and has gone on. Well, now that's interesting. I'm not quite sure what's going on there and why we couldn't get a view of it, but we'll have to go back just a little further.
Weber back into the top 5 now. He's just overtaken Chris Fitzgerald. He's got a long way to go. I think he's 12 to 14 seconds back now on the lead, which is Shannon Corbett.
At this moment, it looks as though Weber's actually had a pretty significant disconnect or something similar.
We'll certainly hear from him in his post-race interview. We'll find out exactly what that is, but he's come back into the pit lane now, as has Chris Fitzgerald, as has Goodfellow. So we've got a handful of stops this lap. That's going to move Kieran Rice up to 7th and Lucas Blake up to 8th. Two drivers who have really benefited from all the attrition in this race.
Yeah, and this is not at all the finishing order that we would have expected at the start of this race. We knew that it was going to be perhaps a little bit of a change-up, but you have a look at some of the moves that have happened through the top end of this field. You know, Corbett, Newton, Collins, De La Rosa all moving up slightly through the field and have done a great job to find themselves where they are in this battle. But Dale Horn's up 10, Tim Pattons is up 22, Kieran Rice on the screen now up 11, Lucas Blake behind him up 19 positions, Patrick Robinson up 10 positions into 10th, Anthony Capan even up 14 to be in 15th. There are some drivers that have really suffered, and Manuel Dodra having all sorts of issues just trying to get that car back to the pits. He's got no rear wing. This is really dangerous because he's still going at very high speed down Conrod. You'll have absolutely no downforce on the back end of that. And it almost looks as though he's intending to drive this to the end. Surely,
I think so.
He's decided to stick on.
Surely he knows he doesn't have a rear wing or a front clip, and he's just decided at this point, I'm in 17th place, I have no front end, I have no rear end, I'm just going to finish the race.
It's
you can't get worse.
Why not? Why not? Nelson and
You see Jordan T. Nelson
side.
down the inside on Zach Vlietstra. He's going to hold on to the position for the time being.
Have a look at Dodra closing in, though. Is he going to thread the needle up the middle? He thought about it.
This seems like a recipe for Mercedes flying off track at a considerable rate of speed to me, Jared.
I think we're going to stick with this because I suspect that's exactly what we're going to see. Although Dodra getting out of very, very early, he absolutely knows that he's carrying that damage. So he's got plenty of pace with no rear downforce. So maybe on Conrad, he's actually going to have a good run at these two.
And it's very unlucky for him. Dodra had been driving a fantastic race from a defensive driving standpoint. He hadn't always gotten the results, but he'd been on camera a lot, and we'd seen a lot of great defensive driving out of him. Just unfortunate that his race has been compromised in this way in an accident that I really don't think he could have done anything differently about. Out front, Jeremy Newton has lost 0.8 of a second over the past 2 laps to Shannon Corbett. Looks like the 387 Ferrari is in control of this race. He's going to be in bring it home mode, I would think, Jared.
Yeah, 5 seconds at this late stage, a very, very easy gap for him to manage all the way without having to do anything, too aggressive at this point. I do want to go back and see if we can catch just a slightly better angle of what's happened to Matt Webber here. We'll take a look at Manuel Dodra. Okay, so the contact actually happened just before the hill by the look of things. We'll take it back here because I do want to see what's happened.
Webber's closing on Dodra, attempting to gain the lap.
Dodra's hung wide and got on the brakes, and I think has attempting to let Webber through. Webber hasn't anticipated that. And
clearly there's been a miscommunication.
Yeah. Okay, that explains a few things.
And it's just, again, it's the kind of thing that wouldn't probably be much of an issue anywhere but the top of the mountain at Bathurst. Most tracks would have the width for that to not be a problem at all. We've seen a few like that today.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Skyline incredibly unforgiving. We see Rob Tilley pick up another spot. He goes past Goodfellow, who's having just a really, really dreadful ride. He goes in again, and I believe he'll be heading on into potentially do a little bit more in terms of repairs. He's just had a couple of incidents over the last lap as well. And you see Rob Tilley just trying to bring it home in one piece at the moment as well. Lots of drivers suffering and struggling on here tonight.
Absolutely, we're at the stage in the race where I think pretty much everyone's been into the wall or another car at least once. Everyone's been into the pits, everyone's running with some kind of damage, or they're managing fuel. It's just, you're in the stage of the race where you're just trying to bring the car home. You're trying to keep the position you have. If there's anyone in front of you who looks vulnerable, you're trying to get them. But I'm looking at the timing tables here, and there's really barely even any gaps that are within a second. Matt Webber's trying to pick off, Nicholas Heath is trying to pick off Patrick Robinson for like P10. I guess that's exciting, but for the most part, the order's pretty set here. All of our drivers are just kind of trying to bring it home. That's the last few laps at Bathurst. Jeremy Newton, isn't it? I will say, Jeremy Newton has pulled half a second in the last lap. If Corbett could start to feel the pressure here, I don't think Newton's going to be able to get to him on pace, but Corbett could start to feel the pressure here in these last 3 laps. It would be his first ever win in the Road Series.
What a way to finish the season for him. Can't argue with that.
It would be. What a story for Shannon Corbett if he does hang on to win this one. He's been in so many races this season. He's been right up there in the top 5, in the top 3, in the top 2 of races. He led laps, as we see Patrick Robinson go wide there. Lucky not to get into the wall. But Shannon Corbett, he's been so close so many times. What a way to end the season it would be for him and for the league. For Corbett to come out on top at the end of the season.
I've just been updating a few things in the background here. I don't have a spot-on point setting that we can actually use to give you exact points to finish tonight, but I've got something that will get us pretty close in terms of estimation as to just where people are going to finish in the championship, because it'd be really interesting to have a look at that, given how completely scattered the finishing order is going to be here tonight. I'm wondering if there's actually going to be anyone who has picked up a very convincing move up through the standings at the end of tonight's race. I reckon there might be a couple.
I think if we do see someone in those positions, it's going to be maybe Jeremy Newton, because he's going to finish second, and he was in that big battle where a few of the cars in that battle, Hallinan, Velicott, Scully, have all finished well down the order below 20th place, and Jeremy Newton's in second. I suspect if we see anyone make a convincing jump several positions up the points, it's going to be him. And that would be well-deserved for Newton. He's had a phenomenal second half of the season, a bit of a nightmare start for him in the first half. After the mid-season race in which that Lamborghini was so fast around the oval at Monza, it seems like Newton's just found another gear with that car, and he's going to be one to watch next season for the entire championship if he keeps driving like this.
And I'd love to see a Lamborghini up in front. You know how much I adore seeing Lamborghini actually competing at a pretty decent clip, and Newton definitely doing that tonight. He's gonna continue to reel Corbett in, but he's just going to run out of laps to do it.
He's been slightly quicker here, and I'm not sure if it's because Newton's starting to reel him in or just because at this stage in the race, Corbett is probably driving incredibly conservatively, as I would be as well. But barring a mistake, I don't think Newton's going to have the chance to do it. Corbett's going to have that wreck from Matt Webber fresh on his mind. He's going to be doing everything possible to play this safe.
This is where the jitters set in, right? You're into the last 2 laps. You know you've got 4 seconds. You know it's an eternity in race terms, but you still don't want to get to the end of that final lap and have a close battle for win. So you do start to back it off a long way, but often the problem can be for drivers that when they do try to run off race pace, they start making mistakes because they start to use the wrong brake markers or not turn quite as hard, or turn too hard into some corners because they're not at the same kind of pace. You can see that the gap just evaporating for Corbett at the moment. It's down to 4.2. So just Newton picking tenths away. There you go, under 4 seconds now. Corbett's not doing anything wrong. He's just taking it very, very easy.
If Corbett's perhaps got a little bit of traffic, he's down to 3.5 seconds. He's taking it extremely easy over the top of the mountain, which I don't think you can blame him for, but it's just so easy to lose momentum over the top of the mountain there. You need to be so on the throttle to keep it on the correct pace.
You know what, he's given up a second over the top. He's still got 3.5 and he's about to go and start the final lap. I wouldn't be surprised exactly to see the same thing.
I'm sure we'll see him give up another second over the top of the mountain on the final lap, and I think that's the right thing to do.
100%. You do not want to bin it through the cutting and end up sideways like we've already seen tonight once, or twice in fact, and give up what would be your first race win for the season. It becomes dangerous and close to dipping those tyres into the grass on the outside, runs it wide on the exit of Murray's, and there's the white flag. So one more lap is all that Shannon Corbett needs to do to hold on for his first race win of the season. And I can't see it going any other way right now.
I don't think so. He's got a 3.3 second gap. Newton's closing. Newton's pushing as hard as he can, but that gap it's an eternity in racing terms. He could give up a 1.5 seconds over the top of the mountain and still be fine because he's got plenty of pace on the final sectors once you get off the mountain. We've got Tim Pattinson about a second back of his teammate for Syndicate Racing, Dale Horn, in the sister McLaren. That could be a little bit of a battle for the top 5 as this race unfolds. Perhaps if Horn makes a mistake over the top.
It'd be
right now,
baby, wouldn't it?
this is going to be Patrick Robinson and Matt Webber. Webber attempting to just claw back some positions after his race has gone completely off the rails in the final couple laps. And Robinson with an aggressive defense, weaving all over the track. I'm not sure Webber's going to be entirely pleased with this one.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. I understand, trying to break the toe there, but there's a certain point at which it just gets to be a little silly, and I reckon Robinson's getting dangerously close to reaching that point. As you see Webber change sides at the last minute, just trying to throw Robinson off his line. Webber knows he's got one more lap here to try and pick up a final extra spot. Shannon Corbett, though, no such issues. Didn't actually drop any time at all to Jeremy Ricken that time. I think he probably owes that to Anthony Capan just being in the right place at the right time from Corbett's perspective. Shannon Corbett's going to wrap this one up very, very easily. Just 3 corners to go as he reaches the chase. And it makes his way through that left-right combo. He'll come underneath the Armour All Bridge and down to Murray's Corner for the final time. Shannon Corbett, honestly, a brilliant job of just surviving tonight. He'll cross the line, and that will be a race win for Shannon Corbett. Jeremy Newton just 3 seconds behind will take second. And Drew Collins, would you believe, sits 23.5 seconds further back.
Collins has run an amazing race today. All those positions made up through the field after the early trouble that he got into. This has been a banner race for the Ferraris because we've got Daff coming home, looks like in 9th as well. All 3 of the Ferraris in this one in the top 10. But as here we go, the 2 Syndicate McLarens.
Just pick up De La Rosa crossing the line here, but Tim Pattinson not carrying the same damage as Dale Horn by the look of things. And have a look at really battling this out. Are the teammates going to take each other out at the death here?
Oh, this is going to be close. They are living up to the name here as Dale Horn takes a nice defensive line there. He's got one more corner to hold on to this one. He knows exactly what Pattinson's going to do. Pattinson knows what he has to do. He's going to try to send it around the outside. He's going to try to cross Horn back over on the inside. It's going to be a drag race to the line. I think it's going to be Dale Horn.
Yeah, that very, very close control line gets Dale Horn home because I think Tim Pattinson had the run, although Horn did a wonderful job of just parking it on the apex there. Kieran Rice comes home in 7th, Lucas Blake in 8th. Brody Daff will hold off Nicholas Heath for 9th. Heath will have to be satisfied with 10th, although has a very big dive, finishes only 6th.
He hold off Nicholas Heath.
He did, just barely.
Yes.
Just barely. Matt Webber comes home.
Matt Webber. He did
Robinson.
end up getting Patrick Robinson at some point.
Yeah, look, it was a fair way further back, but I think it was probably always likely to happen. Jack Kelly-Reid, all on his own in the Castrol liveried Mustang, another 25
Beautiful
seconds
car.
further back. It is. It absolutely is. And he will be the last driver on track to finish on the lead lap by the look of things.
And that's going to do it for us from Bathurst, it looks like. Jack Kelly-Reid coming home in 13th position. I think that might be his highest finish in the Oval Series. Nice work from Jack today.
Yeah, can't argue
Sorry,
with
in
that
the Road
at all.
Series.
As we take a look at the points, or the standings rather, at the end of that race. Shannon Corbett gets the win. Jeremy Newton behind him. Drew Collins in 3rd. Joe Della Rosa picking up 4th. And then those sort of gaps for 5th onwards are so unusual in any race of only 25 laps, but really tell the story of the chaos that unfolded here at Bathurst tonight to finish this series. Dale Horn and Tim Pattinson battled it out right to the line. Kieran Rice and Lucas Blake were not too far apart either. Brody Daff and Nicholas Heath, only hundredths between them, despite it not really showing when you're talking about a minute and a half back from the race winner. A really, really surprising turn of events here tonight, I think, Boone.
Absolutely. I mean, you just look at the podium. I don't think it's or the top 5, really. I don't think is what anyone, really, I think the entire top 10, now that I look at it. Not necessarily what you would have expected going into this race, because we had a lot of our big names either not in the field at all or hitting trouble very early on, in the case of Nicholas Heath and Louis Buhajar. Matt Webber, it looked like he was going to run away with this one. It looked like he was going to dominate, but things changed so quickly at Bathurst, and you don't have to win. You just have to survive. That's what Shannon Corbett did tonight.
You know what? Sometimes survival it's the best thing. It's all you can do is just hang in there and let everyone else make mistakes, and that's absolutely what has played out tonight as we bring him on into the booth. Shannon Corbett, welcome on in and congratulations on your first race win for the season.
Thanks, guys. Long time coming.
Mate, that was certainly an eventful round tonight to finish us off. How many times did you come close to death in amongst all of that?
Look, that first one coming out of the cutting, luckily got around to the left next to the wall. And then my pit stop, I came in early because we came up on traffic and I opted not to try and pass. So just used the pit to get off the tail there.
Well, that's got to be all things considered, mate. A brilliant drive, honestly, to just survive it all tonight and to stay so consistent. We do have to ask just how on edge were you for the last couple of laps? You went up and over the mountain. We saw you drop quite a bit of time to Jeremy in the last couple of weeks. We figured you were probably taking it a little bit easy.
No need for the risk anymore. Yeah. So when I was chasing Matt, I was balls to the wall, but yeah, no need to take the extra risk those last few laps. When Matt came out of pit, he was 1.5 seconds up the road, and I got a bit of the heart pump then. I was like, oh, he's right there. So the race was on.
Well, mate, it's paid off in the end. Congratulations again on the win tonight. Anyone you want to say hello to before we let you get on with it for the evening?
Yeah, probably to Daniel. That wins for both of us. We've had this is our first season back racing together as a team, and taking him out last week when we were second and third probably wasn't ideal. So
That's a pretty fair way to put it, mate. I think you made up for it tonight. Well done, and a great drive to come home ahead of the pack.
Thanks, mate.
Shannon Corbett takes the win. Jeremy Newton comes through in second tonight, and always a favourite for me in the Lambo. I'm going to say this every time. Jeremy, welcome on back to the booth, and congratulations to you as well on surviving the chaos that was tonight.
Yeah, thanks. Awesome.
Mate, talk to us about your race out there. I think we didn't actually see a whole lot from you throughout the broadcast, which is probably a good thing considering what we were looking at across the evening. How did it feel for you out on track over those 25 laps?
It was better towards the end, that's for sure. Shannon put in a mega job. I was unfortunate to see Maddie spin. Also, Daniel having whatever problems Daniel had. I need to go back and watch that replay, but he was getting a bit bumpy with me out of Murray's. I'm not sure exactly how we came a cropper, but it is what it is. That's racing.
Yeah, fair enough too. Any highlights from tonight that you're going to look back on and kind of go, yeah, that's exactly how I want to finish the season here this evening?
Yeah, actually, the Valhalla boys, we all sort of made it except for Jay tonight, and then so there was great results for myself and then Drew, and then also for Joe, and Kieran did quite well as well. It was good to see everybody essentially being here issue-free tonight.
Mate, a very, very solid result to finish off your season. I'm frantically working away in the background here to just try and maybe have some kind of view of the overall point standing, but I reckon it's going to be pretty close for you to pick up an extra spot or two in the championship. Any thoughts on the 10 rounds that you've seen so far? Anything you would have done differently looking back on it, or pretty happy with how the season went overall?
Oh, look, to be honest with you, no. I'm not happy with the start of the season. That was something that I was... Yeah, I struggled a bit at the start. There was a lot of bumping and grinding with some various players, various drivers, and it seemed to be sort of a recurring theme. And yeah, the Lambo obviously isn't great everywhere, but it was certainly better in places where I should have got better results. And I was looking at the table the other day and I'm like, yeah, I've had some great results in the last couple of weeks, but fuck, like I don't mean to swear, but it should have been a bit higher than that.
Mate, the Lambo is one of those beautiful cars that unfortunately will not give you the consistency that you often look for. So, look, a good way to finish, mate. And here's to next season being a little bit kinder to you, hey?
Yeah, definitely.
We'll leave you to it. Anyone you want to say hello to otherwise before we let you go?
Nah, just the boys. Also, just unfortunate for Matty, but he's already got this sewn up anyway. Always enjoy racing with him. Shannon has also come on song the last couple of races, and Dan's been up there most of the year. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what happened to him here tonight. I'll go back and review and see if there was anything that I did. But I honestly don't think so. There was bumping, there was grinding. Mate, I was straight as possible. And he's knocked my speaker onto the floor with the hit, so we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, look, from our perspective, my take on it, mate, for what it's worth, I think a bit of a racing incident, and unfortunately what we see every now and then is that when these cars do even get within a millimetre or so of each other, iRacing has this weird propensity to almost suck them together, and I suspect that's probably what happened. But yeah, look, have a look on it on the replay, and hopefully that's actually what it looks like to you as well. Yeah,
well, that's again, like I will personally redress things if I think I've done wrong, but just playing it back in my head at the time, I didn't really see that there was any point, to be honest. But like, it's frustrating, and I feel bad for Dan because he's great racing too. I was really looking forward to the end of the race. Not sure exactly what happened to the guys like Nick as well, but again, it's not my race, it's not my business. I'm just here to put some lap times in.
I can tell you it's been a very eventful one for everybody. Congratulations on surviving it all, and on picking up a really solid little result to finish off your season. We'll let you get back to it, hey?
All right, awesome. Thanks, have a great night.
Jeremy Newton takes home second, and third place on the podium tonight belongs to Drew Collins from Valhalla Racing. Drew, welcome on into the booth. Mate, another survivor tonight, and
Thank you, yeah.
It's been a bit of a lucky thing for a lot of people, hasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I just sort of fell into P3. I didn't do anything in particular to deserve it, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Look, I can't quite recall who to attribute the quote to, but I think there's something along the lines of to finish first you must finish, and really, mate, that's been what you've done tonight, and I think there's probably due credit for that, because there were plenty of circumstances there, weren't there, where you could have been into the wall like so many others.
Yeah, for sure. I got caught up in that lap one incident a little bit, and that ruined my steering. So I had to box at the end of lap one for that, which set me back quite a bit. But then it was a bit of a blessing in disguise because it meant that I just had clear track for a lot of the time, and I got slowed down a bit by a few back markers. But for the most part, I was just driving around by myself. So as long as I could keep it on track, I didn't have to worry about anyone else.
This is one of those odd tracks, isn't it, where if you are out on your own, it can be sometimes a little difficult to judge your pace across the full race distance. How did you manage that tonight? Obviously, a long run from pitting on lap one to make it all the way home would require a bit of fuel management as well, I imagine.
Fuel management wasn't too bad. Like, this series is pretty good with fuel. You can, you've got plenty of headroom to overfill even if you do box on lap one. So I wasn't worried about that. And then I just tried to put the times in. I think I probably could have caught up a bit more to the guys in front, but with the pace I had, I don't think I was going to make up that gap any more than enough to fight for position.
Well, mate, a podium finish at Bathurst, nothing to sneeze at really to finish off your season. Before we let you go, anyone you want to say hello to?
Yeah, shout out to the Valhalla boys. They're all great, and we've been doing lots of driving this year together, which has been really fun. Congrats to Shannon on the win, and thanks to the TRL guys for putting this season together, and you guys for doing the live stream.
It's been an absolute pleasure. 10 fantastic rounds of racing, and very glad to have you on the podium with us for a chat in the final one here at Bathurst. We'll let you go and catch up with the team and do a bit of debriefing, and I'm sure, like everybody, watching back the replay tonight of what was a pretty eventful race all around.
Yeah, I'll find out what happened in front of me.
Drew, congratulations again, mate. We'll leave you to it.
Cheers, mate.
Boone, I think after all is said and done, I might actually have something that vaguely represents where the championship standings have ended up. So we'll take a look, and bear in mind these are pretty provisional overall. But I suspect that Chris Murray might have held on to a podium spot despite not racing tonight. Oh, I lost Boone as well. There you go. Chris, unfortunately, not racing tonight. 663 points, so enough to hold on. And the biggest factor in that, Martin Hallinan, unfortunately, finishing all the way down in 22nd. I thought it was a sure thing at the start of the evening. I think I've got you back now, Boone. But Chris Murray manages to hold on to a podium spot after all.
It's been a good season from Chris Murray, even without those final two races. Of course, he was in championship contention, only a bit back of Matt Webber going into round 9. Even without the last two races, Murray's still going to finish in third place. Nicholas Heath, of course, moves up to second. The big movers in this one, Lucas Blake, Jeremy Newton, both up 4 places in that tight championship battle. They were the big winners from that chaos today.
And bearing in mind that my point system that I've plugged in here tonight isn't quite going to be accurate to what everyone ends up with in points tonight, Stephen Scully and Jeremy Newton, that could even still change positions because there's only 1 point separating them by my numbers, which says to me that I'm probably wrong, and there's a very good chance that Newton's going to end up in 9th as well.
Absolutely. Another one that's going to be close. I think we've got Louis Buhajar, Oscar Dobbins, and Ben Christian all within 3 points of each other down there for 15th. So that could end up in any order, really. But I think the big winners
through, right?
My big winner today is Jeremy Newton. Absolutely incredibly clutch P2 to move up from 14th position to at least 10th, possibly 9th. Just surviving all the carnage today, coming on so strong at the end of the season. We've seen a number of podiums from Jeremy. I think he's going to be one to watch going into next season. Plenty
of very, very strong performances right across the season here. Boone, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the booth for a good part of this, and I think it's about time for us to wrap it up for this season of the TRL Road Series.
I think so. I believe it's time to sign off for the time being. We will be back. We don't have an exact date yet for when Season 2 of the Road Series will return. It's likely going to be a bit after the holidays, right around the very beginning of 2026, in approximately a month.
Well, the best thing you can do to make sure you don't miss any of it is to make sure you subscribe to Simple Racing Broadcast, because as soon as we have a schedule, we will be punching on a whole lot of streams ready and step for you to just hit that little bell so you get the reminders. We do like to make sure we are well and truly ahead of that wherever we can be, so keep an eye on that. Or, of course, jump into the TRL Discord. Not a bad way to keep up with things either. You'll find a link just down below in the YouTube description. But that will bring the final round of the Tasman Racing League Road Series Season 1 to an end. It has been an absolute pleasure to bring all of the racing action to you at home, folks. Thank you so much for watching along with us and enjoying what has been another great season of racing, as it always is with so many of the leagues that we do have the pleasure and the privilege of covering here on Simple. A massive thank you to all of the drivers, of course, for giving us something great to watch, and to the TRL admin for putting it all on. My name's Jared Cole. I've been joined tonight by Boone Blake, and we will see you again very, very soon, I hope. Do make sure you check out a couple more of the races still scheduled for the next couple of weeks. You'll find them on the Simple Racing Broadcast YouTube channel. If we'll see you there, I'd love to have a chat once again. But until then, it is goodbye for now.